Hey folks, join us again for another Knockdown Live. Thanks for tuning in. Just give it a few minutes here for people to jump on. So just give us 20 or 30 seconds. Get a few people on board. So tonight we're going to be talking to Paul Glennon. Some of you may know Paul Glennon. He's from the Midlands of Ireland. Well-known guy on the Volkswagen scene. Dead on dude, and he's got quite the collection of cars. So we'll just wait for him to come on here, and then we'll add him. Thanks again for watching the lockdown logs. We've been getting really good views on them, and the feedback's been great. We've sort of decided to do these, I've said many times before, to try and get everybody together when there's no show scene happening as such. So just, I thought it'd be something good we could do. So just before I bring Paul on, just remind you that episode 11 of the podcast's out, where we talked about VR6s. There's Lee said, nice curtains, Nige, nicer than ours. Yeah, I was a callback to your curtains there, Connor and Lee, because I lost internet downstairs the last time. So, episode 11 of the podcast out. We're going to be recording episode 12 at the weekend, and this is a curtain competition now. Well, curtain off. BBC's tried every other competition, so why don't we just have Britain curtain off? We'll do that there. Episode 12 is recording at the weekend. It's going to be a kind of fun one. We're going to be doing rare edition cars that were never made, something like that there. So just see if Paul's on board here. He should be. I told him to tune in. Yes, there he is. Paul. Hopefully he has Wi-Fi better than mine in recent days. There he is. Straight into it, Paul. Good man.
Sure, no messing. How's the farm?
Keeping well?
Yeah, I can't complain.
Good.
Trying to keep busy during this
We've
lockdown.
got internet stuff.
That's good.
Sorry?
I said that's good anyway.
Good. Yeah.
Sorry?
Right, the internet's a bit slow, is it?
It was working okay up until now. Well,
my magic touch.
Sorry? We'll move outside the shed.
My magic touch. Sometimes, sometimes the metal in the shed will affect your signal.
Exactly, yeah. It's kind of hit and miss, but I thought today was actually a good day for it, but unfortunately not.
Yeah, the signal's perfect there now. That's great.
That's good. Sure, I'm trying to keep busy during the lockdown, but I'm not really getting much car stuff done. Being busy with two kids and trying to get the house ready, but there's a day here and there we're getting stuck into the cars. But
for yourself, have you been back to work yet? Or are you still?
I actually started back yesterday.
Right, so that's been a good solid 2.5 months basically then.
Yeah, more or less. We were busy kind of getting the house ready to move in and stuff like that, so that's kind of taking up most of my time. And then having two kids as well that are under the age of 3, which doesn't help either with time and cars.
Now speak nicely now. Don't be slagging the kids now. You get in trouble.
No, Leanne, don't worry. I say she's watching. I love them to bits. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. Oh well, I know how it is. It's a constant battle for time, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
If anybody doesn't know you, Paul, when I think of you, Paul, I would see you as a solid piece of furniture in the VW scene, and somebody, if you're out for the weekend at a car show, you'd be the last man standing. Would that be right?
It's been known that, all right. Generally, when we're heading to a show, we make it an overnight job, and we normally have a couple of beverages the night before, and I wouldn't be the best now at the actual show. There's been a few times now I've been, I couldn't, how would you put it? I couldn't really function the following day.
Yeah. Well, I've known you probably a good decade now, Paul. I'll be right.
Yeah, I'll be about right. My first dub shed was the second year,
Second year.
So that was 2010, I think.
Yeah.
And
2010 was the first year.
2011 then was my first year, and I think from then I kind of probably introduced myself then and kind of got more into you guys.
Yeah.
I suppose more into the Volkswagen scene the year after.
Johnny Kern says last man standing is debatable, Nigel.
Johnny's going to have plenty of comments during this, I imagine. Yeah.
Here, there's a man that do a lockdown log for us, I would say. Show us around his nice Mark 1.
It's orangey, flaky paint anyway.
Very rough one. Very rough one.
Johnny's bang on anyway. No doubt he's the best man to hand out abuse, but he can take it just as good.
That's the most important thing. So if you can dish it out, you can take it. That's the best thing, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, lockdown sucks. No, I'll just close the door here. I'm in a wee side room here. Lockdown sucks. The car show season seems to be a damn squid for 2020.
Yeah, unfortunately, sure. Every year it's always Dubshed. We're always building a car. Dubshed is the debut of any car we're building, and when the news came out, it was kind of expected anyway. But when the news did come out, it was kind of it was set in stone then, and so we didn't know how far the COVID-19 was going to affect the whole country.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, it looks like the show scene is right off for this year.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Might be able to salvage something towards the end of the year, but we'll see how things go. You know?
Exactly. See, that's all we can do. We don't know how it's going to turn out. So,
yeah.
But yeah, hopefully there'll be at least one, maybe two shows that we can turn up to towards the end of the year. Hopefully not make the year a complete whitewash.
Yeah.
But it'll be good.
I think cars and coffee and maybe road runs will play an important role this year for the car scene.
I've seen a couple of. I didn't actually see minis in Northern Ireland. They're planning the coastal run, I think.
Yeah.
With obviously social distance and stuff like that. So I'd say an awful lot of other clubs are going to kind of jump on that kind of bandwagon of cars and coffee and road runs, because you can do it in small numbers. You can do it in big numbers and still be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Here we might even do something ourselves with MLVW.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you spoke on MLVW there. If anybody that doesn't know you, you've been one of the key organisers of Midlands VW, the club and the show for a brief few years now.
I suppose I kind of got really good friends with Johnny Kern, Ian Slamman, Dave Ryan, kind of a couple of years back, and they introduced me to more lads in the club, and I ended up kind of turning up to a couple of meetings. The next thing, kind of, I was helping out more and more, and I suppose I keep pushing it to go further and further. Well, I tried to anyway. The biggest hiccup we had, I think, a couple of years ago, we lost the barracks in Mullingar, where the venue was.
It was a great spot, so it was, yeah.
It was a great spot. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was out of our hands. The venue got sold, and the new owners had no interest in holding the show, which is understandable. So we decided to go on the hunt then for another. We ended up taking a year break out. Found another venue outside Quebec, and we fell in love with it straight away.
The original venue in the barracks was great, and the next venue you went to is the American Classic American Car Club. Or something.
Exactly. The American Classic Car Club in Ireland is actually based. The guy that runs the club owns the premises. Joe's bang on. Anything we've asked, he's done everything for us, and he's helped us out. Even he was overwhelmed with the car scene on our end because he'd never seen it before. He only really seen the American shows and a few local classics. And he couldn't believe the standard of cars turning up and the quantity as well. I think the first year we had about 240 cars, which was a great turnout considering we had a year break as well. It turned out really well.
It was a credit to you guys. Like you're hardcore Volkswagen enthusiasts, and it's great to see an event like that in the middle of Ireland. And the other thing for show organisers down south that maybe people up north don't understand is insurance and getting permission to do a car show down south is particularly difficult because of the authorities and different things.
Yeah, insurance. We were lucky enough with this. The insurance company went within the first show has covered us every year going on. He has no problems with it because there's never any issue. And the likes of the venue, we're lucky enough. I don't think we have to get any council approval or anything like that. So obviously, we have to let the local authorities know and all that. But according to the council, they don't really have an issue.
I think sometimes it just varies from place to place, maybe different councils, and if there's been trouble in the area, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Some areas they don't particularly like having large gatherings for whatever reason.
Because of the twin cams.
We're not in the sort of a scene that we do rings and go out and do donuts and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't float my boat, but it floats others. No, I do appreciate a good cam. Just don't bring a UK cam into the yard. I love twin cams. They're great. I've driven a few of them.
I love them too. I just hate the just some of the tubes that fall them about, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. If I ever did get a twin cam, the first thing I do is take off the Jan Speed, take off the CB Oscars, and take off the CB Aerial.
Just go OEM?
No, full Jap.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think the Jap is much more diverse. You can be much more individual with your car.
I would be really into the older Jap stuff, 80s and 90s stuff. The Juicebox YouTube channel, have you followed any of them videos?
I keep meaning to, but no, I haven't.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Fantastic. Like the fellow Neil Shane, and then there's Ruben Dover as well that sort of run the channel or featuring a lot of it. Just their knowledge is fantastic, and they're genuine enthusiasts. They're every bit as enthusiastic as we are in Volkswagens. You know, they're just very knowledgeable. But they like a bit of action too, so fair play.
Yeah, they're genuine enthusiasts. They love them just as much as we love the V-dubs.
Yeah.
There is one Jap car in the family. My father has an 84 RX-7 FB.
Very nice.
It's currently stripped down now. It's not here, but I'd love to get on the road someday. But it's a nice car now. It just needs minimal welding, but it's more kind of just a light restoration.
Yeah.
But they are a lovely car.
Yeah. So let's get on to the meat of the discussion. Let's talk about your cars, Paul. Where do you want to start?
Well, I have the Mark 3 beside me, so I might as well start here.
That's your main car.
Well, I suppose it's been a main heartbreak.
As are Mark 3s.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to be fair, it hasn't really kind of given me much trouble with rust. More so with what I wanted to do with it. I always came across a hurdle, and it just took more time to go over it. But we're getting there slowly. Hopefully, we'll have it out now soon. I say that every year. It's been in the shed now 3 years.
What did that start? Did that start out as an 8 valve or a 16 valve, Paul? I can't remember.
It started out as 8 valve with an AGG. So she was a late one. It was when a friend of mine actually rang me to say he had to buy a parts car, and he asked me to come go collect it, as I had trade insurance at the time. So we went over to pick it up. By the time we got back to his shed, it was back to Neil Carroll's shed. I just turned around and said, "How much do you want for it?" And he says, "Do you really want it?" I says, "Yeah, I love driving it back. The clutch is slipping." It had CB Oscars on the front of it. It was covered in stickers. I think it had Subaru Speedline wheels on it and 10-door bucket seats. It was the end of Max Power kind of era, crossed with a rally spec car.
John Lagrange says it's sitting in its final resting place at this stage.
Just like your Mark II, John.
Here, that Mark II sat in my yard for a good year, I'm sure.
I'd say I was sitting in your yard for about 3 years. Probably sitting here for another three,
Was
and I was sitting in another yard for the last two.
yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, that's where I started. I bought it for a couple of £100, and things escalated. Then it was bought to be a cheap daily, and just keep going further and further then into what it is now.
The famous "I'm never touch my daily driver." Signals going to pot in there, so it is, Paul.
Yeah, I'll stand back out here. I suppose every time I buy a daily, I buy it cheap, and I can justify putting a few quid into it. And the next thing, it escalates. But here, I'll pick the camera and give it a walk around. Sorry, stand back. She's 97, original 8 valve. Currently, I couldn't really drive it out of the shed because I couldn't get it started this evening for some reason.
All right. Same.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship. I suppose I started I can't really go into the shed actually because I'm going to lose reception.
Let's go well.
We'll talk out here. I suppose start with suspension. She's running airlift bags on the front, TA Technics on the rear, along with airlift 3P. Thanks to TJ, a good few years ago.
TJ just asked, what sort of microwave are you videoing this on?
Sorry?
He asked, what sort of microwave are you videoing this on?
It's a glorious iPhone. The up front, the brakes wise, I have, I believe they're Boxster S fronts. They came up at the right money at one stage, and I jumped at the opportunity. Rear is stepped out disc to 280mm, running the standard caliper. I just kind of wanted a wheel or a disc that would fill the wheel a little bit more. The interior wise, it's standard OEM Jap Recaros that are slightly moldy at the moment. I didn't clean. You can tell I look after this car a lot.
It's your prized possession. It's your prized possession, Paul.
It's just I'm a mechanic by trade.
Here, I don't blame you. If it got his yearly clean for Dubshed.
Exactly, yeah. If Dubshed did happen, it would have been cleaned. So I blame COVID at the moment.
Yeah.
Inside then, I'm not even sure what size.
We lost you. Come back, us, Paul.
Am I back?
You're back, Paul. You're back.
Okay, I'll stand outside the shed. So I'm not going to go in.
Can you pull the bonnet?
I can, yeah.
Use your zoom function from outside the shed to keep signal.
Yeah, so
tell us about this delicious engine.
So I decided to go for more power probably about 5 years ago. I was on a spin over to Edition 38 in the passenger seat of Getton's Mark III.
Yeah.
And yeah, it blew me away.
You just sat down. Yeah.
Yeah, we pulled off. I think around Birmingham, we turned and headed into Mexico, and it was brilliant.
Was that the time that Gatton got lost and had to catch up?
No, he actually won a prize at Edition, and you guys, I think, were heading off early to catch the boat.
Yeah.
And he wanted to hang on to obviously collect the award and that.
Come in, Apollo 13. Come in, Apollo. We're losing you, Paul. Stand back.
I'm back. Yeah, so Getton really, he kind of put the power idea in my head anyway.
He's a bad man. He's a bad man. Always said
yeah, he is. With keeping in, I at the time you had Getton with the VR6 Turbo Mark III. You had Dave Clark had just come out a year or two previous with the Mark II V6.
Did you just say Dave Clark came out?
No, sorry, he came out with the Mark II VR6. Yeah, I walked into that one. Yeah, at least I didn't say I came out.
Give it time. Give it time.
So I wanted to steer away from the VR6. I wanted to go 16 valve. So I decided to go down kind of spacer plate route. That didn't last very long. I had a T3 turbo, stuff like that. I kind of binned them and decided to go for more power. So I ended up buying an engine off Dave Clark.
As well, I actually have an engine from Dave Clark with G60. He is the root of all evil.
Yeah, he's actually on the other day trying to sell me another G60. But anyway, she's a 2.1 KR bottom end with rods and pistons with diesel ALH crank. So she's a stroker. Then she's running the ABF head with Kent cams, which she's slightly ported as well. Then I ended up using a 20 valve inlet. I'm actually not sure what 20 valve I got off. I think it's an Audi TT, because the outlet comes on the right hand side.
Yeah.
Turbo wise, then I went for a GT28 71R. I wanted the kind of more quick spool with the 2.1 bottom end. With the crank, you have to modify the oil drive. So it does give, under high stress, it can fail. So I want a kind of a low revving engine, keeping it below 6.5, 7,000 RPM. I don't want to be hunting 9 and then end up blowing an engine.
Pay usable power.
Exactly. It's front wheel drive. I don't want to go too crazy. And here, I have too many friends with quick cars, and this was another reason. Then with gearbox, clutch, I'm using Helix.
Paddle.
Yeah, Helix paddle clutch and pressure plate. Running a solid flywheel, just a lightened standard flywheel. And then running an O2M out of a VRS Octavia.
Yeah.
With a quaif. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Have you got it mapped? Have you got the fueling sorted in it, or is it still to be sorted? Or?
Still to be sorted. We got it running. I got it over to get mapped, and the guy that was mapped at the time didn't feel too happy about it because there was a slight noise in the engine. Right. I ended up pulling it apart. Found that two of the oil squirters were missing for underneath the pistons. So they're now back in. It's starting up now with no noise it's starting every second day with no noise. And so I need to get back to someone that's going to be capable of getting the power out of it. So
Andy Maxwell asks, what management are you running on at the moment?
I'm running Omex 600, along with the race loom as well. I think it's Bosch map, no airflow meter. If we're going to try and walk into the shed, I'm actually running a turbo guard, I believe. So there's no air filter. I don't know how sketchy that is.
Don't drive down any gravel lanes.
No, it's almost like you guys were chatting on the podcast about having tights.
Tights across the mods.
Yeah. I've seen reviews and people with massive power. There's actually a Mark II I was following up around 1400 brake with Donkey Tech, and they seem to be running them with no issues. So
yeah, well, I've seen the Donkey Tech engine bays just over at Santa Paul, and there's not an air filter to be seen usually.
No, there's none. It's a restriction, I suppose, and they don't want it.
The risk is worth it, they would say.
Yeah. And all the boost pipes are custom then as well, because there is no bolt-on kit for a 16 valve turbo. And there's a full 3-inch exhaust out the back with a silencer at the back, but it's like a drain pipe.
For the spec of engine you have, what sort of power would you be expecting to see out of
that? I hope to see over 400, but I'll be happy with anything at this stage.
Nice.
There's different reviews on the GT28. The engine should be good for upwards of just under 500.
Yeah.
But the turbo should be kind of maxing out. There's different people have different opinions. Anything from 4 to 450. The I need to actually change out the injectors. The injectors I have are too big. I think they're 650s at the moment, and I have 450s in the car to go into it.
Right. Do you think they're washing the pistons or what? Or what do you mean?
Possibly. No, when I had the head off, it didn't seem to be. But like that, it hasn't been running that long, so I can't really kind of.
Yeah.
If I had it driving for a couple of weeks, I could go back and strip it and see how it's coming out. But at the moment, they're not. It's not really showing any signs.
The advantage of a conversion of that over the VR6 is basically that it keeps the sort of part of weight more usable as such. You don't.
Yeah, I actually never really thought of that initially, but you're actually the second or third person who's actually said it to me about power to weight, because the VR6 lump is quite heavy.
There's no getting away from the fact you've got a VR6 in front of your steering wheel when you have one. Like it's
and they do sit very forward facing as well, so it's out over the front wheels a good bit.
Yeah.
But you still with a VR6 you cannot beat that rumble.
Neil Carroll says them injectors are 750 if you got them from him.
Very good. Yeah, so they are 750.
They're even bigger than you thought.
Yeah, so I have 450s to change out anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not even reading the comments because someone's going to put me off.
Yeah, I think the first broadcast I done, I was just laughing most of the time because people are just taking a piss.
Yeah. I suppose there's hella quads up front. There's also US front and rear bumpers.
Yeah.
I can't really show you the bumper due to my shitty shed. A US rear tub as well, and I have black hellas on the back of it.
Lots of nice touches around the car.
Yeah, the front headlights then are new old stock hella quads.
Yeah.
That haven't been painted, thank God, because a lot of people do tend to paint them. I love this car. It's great to drive. Well, when I was driving, it was brilliant. I loved it. And then wheels wise, 70-inch OZ Ultra Legos. They're on adapters at the moment because they're 5x112. And I have other wheels buried in the shed somewhere for as well. The Haman HP ones are very similar to your Pegasus.
Yeah, they look really well in your car now. So
they do. But I decided to go for the OZ Ultra Legos just for more sport kind of team.
Yeah.
But I think they've only seen like one show.
Damn COVID.
Yeah. I suppose while we're here, I can show off some of your banners.
Thanks very much.
That is an all-time favourite car. If I could get an Audi 200 Quattro.
Give Andy a shout.
I don't think I'd have deep enough pockets. There's a few more over here, along with the MLVW banners that we got you guys to make us as well. And
Hit us up.
No, it's good. There's a little bit of garage art anyway, along with two rusty Sirocco wings in the middle of it.
Okay, you have to have that feel to it with the rust.
Yeah, I'm afraid that it'll fall off and onto the Mark III.
Yeah, so the Mark III is a great car. You have a few other cars in your collection then, Paul?
Yeah, I had to bring one or two down here because they're not actually all down here. This is Mark II Jetta. I have this probably about 5-6 years.
Yeah, I love that car. I think it's fantastic.
I love it too. Actually, I'm having very bad thoughts this week about selling it, but I don't know if I should follow through. I suppose if I do sell it, it'll be reinvested into other projects. But then again, it's such a cool little car.
Yeah.
I bought it off Cliff Rafus. He's more of a polo man based over the road from me.
Right. I didn't realise that's where you got the car from in the first place.
Yeah, he had it for a couple of years. Hadn't driven for a year or two, and then I guess I made a phone call one day, and next thing I was over in his yard that evening. Did
you have that at Jetta at Edition 38 one year?
Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago. I went over with Mark Neely, Paul Donnelly, and who else was driving? Yeah, it was an interesting trip. Mark continuously drove off on us because he was in an A8 40 or V8, and I was in a 1600 turbo diesel. Yeah, thanks, Mark.
But that jet is still running the 16 TD.
Yes, I'm half afraid to take it out because it is original to it.
Yeah.
I've had dirty thoughts about putting 24 valve into it and stuff, but it's it'll be a shame to take it out because it's the one car I can always go back to and drive because it's always driving.
Yeah.
It's like in the older Top Gear episodes. It's when they go on a tour, it's the Beetle.
Or the Hilux. Remember the Hilux?
Exactly. Yeah. It's the car I can always fall back on. It's a great runner. It drives really well, even though it is stupid low. It holds the road brilliantly.
Yeah.
I suppose we walk around it. It's fairly standard car. Bar, we'll stand back a bit. She's fairly standard. Bar 1.6 TD. The pump is turned up. It's got a 2-inch exhaust. AP coilovers, and I have the Focal subwoofer to boot and Focal 6x9s in the rear shelf. They were fitted before I bought it, and they're great sound out of them.
Yeah.
Because when you're driving a diesel, there's not exactly much noise coming out of the exhaust.
Just a cool looking, reliable Jetta.
Yeah, and I love those wheels. The wheels I picked up there last year, they're HGN Rent Sports.
We can't actually see them. It's a bit pixelated, the picture, Paul.
Oh, sorry. They're HGN Rent Sports.
Fantastic.
I think Peden had them at one stage on his E21, a dub shed, the rusty one.
Right. Okay. There you go. Small work.
So they have been around. I picked them off Walter, the wheel whore down in Tipperary.
Is he still in Australia?
Yeah, he's still over there.
He must be a national by now, is he?
I'd say he is. He's not far off. Let's say.
Yeah.
He's still got a massive wheel collection. I was lucky enough to get these off him. But they really suit the car. And there's no spaces, just bolt on. It's brilliant.
I think the last time I seen Walter was probably TJ's wedding.
Jeez, that's a while back, all right.
Yeah.
That's probably what, 7? TJ will probably answer. I wasn't there. This is a customer car I'm working on at the moment.
Don't put TJ on the spot about how many years he's been married.
It's okay. I don't think Cal will be looking at my lockdown log anyway. This is a customer's car. The little Mark II 8 valve. It's a cracking little car.
Solid one.
Sorry.
Good solid one. Original.
Yeah, she's very solid. She's just back from a respray, and I had to get the engine back into it and stuff like that. She's back running now, and there's a few little small jobs to finish off. But it's a crack little car.
TJ says 6 years.
6 years. Feels like 700.
Feels like 700. Now here's something a bit special. Now, a wee mini.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you there. There was a combine driving by. Fucking farmers.
You wouldn't be in Ireland without that.
Boy.
Right, so this is the wee Butte Mini.
Yeah, this is
people that don't know you properly know that you have minis at heart, apart from VWs.
Yeah, my first car was a Mini. At 16, I bought a 93 Mini Mayfair, and drove it for 3 years until the front decided to come off it. And then I ended up buying this, kept in the Minis after that. And because I got them into the house, Dad got the bug as well, and he started buying some as well. But this is 91 Mini City.
I'm seeing a correlation here. You like Mark IIIs, you like Minis. You must be very good with a welder.
Unfortunately not. I'm like pigeon shit welding. Lucky enough, this car, it didn't need actually that much welding. For a Mini, it didn't anyway.
Yeah.
the rear valance needed to be, sorry, the rear bumper mount was actually rotten on it, but the valance was okay, so I decided to go to debumper it. It was kind of like a part and parcel of cutting the rust out. And then underneath was actually very good. Inside as well, floors, all that, very good. Front end was okay, but not 100%. So I decided to do 2 new wings, front panel, new bonnet.
The deep bumper looks absolutely fantastic on it. Really,
yeah, it's much cleaner. Now, Mini Anorex now don't like it, but I think it looks cool.
that's fantastic.
And she got Mark 1 front grille. Then the Group 5 arches. The wheels then are Volk meshes, I believe. I actually bought them by mistake, thinking they were a different stud pattern than they were, and had to get them re-drilled. But they suit the car brilliantly.
The thing is, what height of a man would you be, Paul? Well,
I'm 6'5".
yeah. I'm 6'1", and I struggle to get into a mini.
That's why none of the cars we have standard seats.
All right. Sit in the back, basically, then.
Yeah, it's very close to it, and don't hit a bump too hard because I'll hit my head off the roof.
Yeah.
But I suppose at the back as well, I forgot to mention the Mark II backlights, and then a Mark 1 booted, and she's also got. It's actually quite a rare thing to have. Is she's got a right-hand tank. Speedwell made them back in the 60s. Generally, right-hand tanks only come in Cooper S's, and but generally it's an aftermarket part. But back then they didn't really make them after the 60s, so it's quite rare to have as well. The interior is still. I actually started pulling the dash out because I have a bit of wiring gremlin with dash lights not lighting up, so that's why half the dash is taken apart. Running a Motorlita steering wheel, and then I have Firestone Recaros. I believe they're out of a Rover or some sort of Rover.
Yeah.
Then there's a black leather back bench, and she currently has just a rollover bar, and I have a 6-point safety devices cage for it. I just need to get painted to colour code it.
Just on the topic of colour, people are asking what is the actual colour?
It's Murphy green, I believe. I think it's Murphy green. The guy I bought the car off, it was originally a black car, but he painted it this particular green. He said it was Murphy green. I went looking, found the code, and I said that's because when I did get it, that was the main reason I wanted to strip it. The paint was so bad in it. It was like someone painted it with a roller. I think he painted it in his driveway with a small compressor, so she was losing pressure and spitting paint at the car, and it kind of gave it a hammered effect, which wasn't my cup of tea. So she got ripped apart, got the rust, a few bits of rust started, and then I suppose I ended up going for a bigger engine.
Is the Murphy green a mini colour? Is it a Rover colour, or what is it?
I believe it's a mini colour, but I think it's a mini colour. It's been a long time since I actually looked it up.
It looks slightly, I don't know, a flat colour, is it, or what?
Yeah, it's a flat colour. It's not metallic.
Yeah. It reminds me sort of a Nardo grey flatness, that sort of.
Yeah, similar.
Cool.
No, it's cool now.
Yeah.
And then she's got a few other bits and pieces. She's got aluminium drums or mini fins on the back, camber plates the rear, adjustable tie rods and adjustable bottom arms in the front.
Cool as.
Sorry.
It's cool as hell, basically.
Yeah, and then the original engine that was in it was a 1275 1.3 standard engine. I pulled that out and we rebuilt it for I think it's plus, she's up to 1330cc now. It should be up around 70-75 brake,
which is quite a lot for a mini, like.
Yeah, they're quick enough. But I think a standard Cooper S will be around the 50 horsepower mark.
Yeah.
And they're the top specs, say, standard car. So it is fun to drive. And then there's a straight cut gearbox as well, so there's a lot of noise.
Connor's just called your car Nardo Green, so there you go. Anybody asking? Nardo Green.
Nardo Green, yeah. No, it's a cool little car now.
Yeah, definitely is.
But and then that's a T4 that I have bad intentions of bringing it lower to the ground.
Oh no, bug. It's a bug. So it is.
Exactly, yeah. I suppose I can. There's one or two more. That's the daily whip. There's a few knocking around the place anyway.
That's your
That's me wee daily. Good trusty van with 400,000 on it now.
set of nice RXs on it.
Yeah, BBS RXs on cheap and nasty tires.
It's not as if you're going racing on it, like.
No, well, sometimes some days I do, but no, she's got a good reliable power or good reliable van. I wouldn't say power. There's no power in it.
Them caddies, it takes very little to get them looking very sharp.
Yeah, the reason I put coilovers in because when I bought it, the shocks were extremely boaty. It was cheaper to buy coilovers than it was to buy shocks.
Yeah.
And then the front visor, and that's really it. I didn't really do anything else. So, like I said, it's a daily, so I'm trying not to spend any money on
Yeah.
it. Like I'm back doing big mileage now again, so I'm doing about 70,000 kilometers a year. So I don't want to be spending money on something that's going to be wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I suppose this is my last car. Then is 1979 Sirocco Mark One that I've just started into in the last kind of 2 months, I think. 3 months.
It's not far off being finished, by the looks of it.
Oh yeah, no, just bang on the wheels now and drive her out.
What sort of plans have you got for it?
And well, I suppose fix all the rust is the first thing. I thought Mark 3s and minis were bad. She's
what is it, 78, did you say?
79. Apologies, sorry, she's 80. It's actually a local car bought in Navan with a guy about 5 miles away from me, owned it for 30 years, sold it to his nephew, and then I have it since. The reason why it came off the road was the bonnet flew up and broke the windscreen. But it since sat in the shed and got extremely rusty. As you can see, it's like a tea bag.
Oh, flip. Right, okay.
That's the inner wings, scuttle. And then also the cut of sunroof into it, which is non-factory. So I'll need to fix that.
Johnny says he won't finish the Rocco. It'll be mine soon.
No, it won't. You're going to have a house and a wife soon.
Oh, them sons look healthy.
Yeah, they're very bad. Believe me, it gets worse. Like the arches.
I love the fact you're such an optimist, Paul.
I've restored. Well, I suppose myself and my father have restored worse.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of a bit of rust.
Yeah.
This is I suppose the most. I've never seen a car go like that before in the water channel in there.
It looks like water's been landing out and collecting or something.
Exactly. Yeah. But nothing's gonna surprise me anymore with cars. They're all rust heaps.
Yeah.
And I suppose then there's
father's car.
There's a minivan there that's, I suppose, in the waiting line. Dad's then 73 Clubman GT.
Lovely.
She's de-seamed. She's got a 1380 on Weber's. She's a quick car.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's up at around 95 brake,
which is for a mini.
It's stupid on the road.
What's the curb weight of an average mini of that year?
About 650 kilos, I think. 700 kilos is kind of standard weight. That's probably down a little bit lower, probably about 556.
Yeah.
And now here, someone would probably correct me, but they're definitely under 800 anyway.
Yeah. There used to be a guy came to the track days back in the day, and he had I think it was just a B16 Honda VTEC engine.
Yeah.
It was just lethal. Like, it was just so quick. So that was what are they, 130 or 150 brake, something like that.
Yeah, the B16A is like 160 standard.
Oh, there you go.
And then there's actually one up for sale down in Galway at the moment. It's very kind of period car, kind of old cafe racer style look. but she's got an R1 engine in the front. It's there's and there's also a company in the UK, Z Cars. They do space frames for the likes of the K20 stuff like that in the rear. Like for I think everything that has been done to a Mini or can be done has been done.
Yeah.
Because they've been around so long and they're affordable to tune. People get into them quite. I suppose not nowadays, but I mean back say even 20, 30 years ago, they were affordable to get into and affordable to tune.
Yeah. I actually test drove a Mini when I was about 18. My friend was selling one cheap, and I drove it down the road, and I just sort of went, how do people drive these?
They are good fun. Yeah, I'll show you under the engine bay. This, she's big Weber 45 at the back. She's on a jackknife straight cut box as well. Yeah, it's a fun car to drive.
Yeah, definitely.
And then last one, I suppose, is the 1961 minivan. Yeah, she's fairly standard looking. She's got a 1275 board out to 1380 on an SU car with a straight cut box as well. So it's she's not standard anyway. She's nice and quick too. Yeah, they're good fun.
Just when you're talking about money, the fella, I moved into a new house there 2 years ago, and the fella that had it, two owners before me, he basically is a hardcore Mini restorer, and he has some of the rarest Cooper S's, like real early 60s ones. Would that be right?
Oh, okay. What's his name?
What do you call him? The flipping name slips me right now. He put me on the spot.
Actually, don't worry about it. Yeah,
I forget his name. He owns a body shop in the Castlereagh Road. If Laura was here, she'd be able to tell me. But he basically used the garage downstairs to fit 5 or 6 of his Minis in.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, there's 3 over there. If we moved a little bit over there, we'd probably get another one in here. Along with, if my Sirocco wasn't there, Dad would probably buy some more.
Yeah. Your dad's probably swearing at you going, flip, I could have another few Minis in there.
He's not on Instagram. Don't mind. I hear there is a few more Minis around the country as well. He's a 71 GT. He's a 70s pickup as well. And there's also a Cooper S down in my granny's. Yeah, there's a Cooper S down in my granny's as well.
There's no shortage of Minis, basically.
Yeah, there's a few knocking about.
That brings us to the end of the massive collection then, Paul, does it?
Well, I wouldn't say massive. There's Andrew Maxwell, and he's got a hell of a collection compared to me.
He needs therapy. He needs therapy, so he does, the fella.
Yeah, no. I hear there's a few jokes knocking about. All right.
Yeah.
And I ended up buying another Mark III today as well, so I have to go pick that up. Another small project, I suppose. See,
there's people who say, don't drink or don't smoke, so that's why I'm into my cars. But you do all three. You drink, you smoke, and you're into your cars.
Yeah, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I know I haven't been drinking that much lately because I suppose being a family man now, I'm very sensible.
Yeah.
But I smoke a good bit, and which I shouldn't. I need to give them up. And I suppose the cars will never finish. They'll never stop. They'll always be around anyway.
Yeah. It's great crack. So it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So,
it's been great talking anyway.
Yeah. Thanks very much for showing us around. That's been fantastic. So, have you been listening to many of the podcasts yet?
Yeah, but every morning they come out, I'm onto it straight away, especially at work. Sorry?
Yeah. You're straight on them then?
Yeah, more or less. Not a good crack. Really enjoyed the what's the chap from America, Sean Maynard.
Yeah, dream job.
I love the kind of the couple of ones you did earlier on as well. The kind of couple of stories you guys did over the years of cars, that sort of stuff. I love. In Mexico and whatnot.
Well, the plan is to get a few more people into it when things calm down, to get a few more people in, and then we can start a chat about stories they got there, because there's plenty of stories amongst us all that we could chat about.
Oh God, yeah, sure. Well, like myself, I'm well able to talk. But there's plenty of stories with everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So, right, I'll leave you there, Paul. Many thanks for coming on and joining us. And
thanks.
I'll speak to you soon.
Perfect. Thanks very much for having me. And
Cheers.
thanks very much. Bye bye.
Yes. Okay, that was Paul Glennon. As you can see, he's a bit of a collector, real nice guy, and just part of the VW scene here in Ireland. So I hope you enjoyed seeing around the whole collection he has. And yeah, we're going to have a few more of these lockdown logs in the near future. We're going to be recording episode 12 at the weekend. So if you have any stories to share, any questions, fire away. So yeah, we'll leave it there. Just before I go, just remind you, we'll have a shop. It's Reload Global. We'll have a discount code for anybody who wants to jump on. It's pod15. You can buy stuff like this. Have a look about. If you want to buy something, buy something. There's a discount code that said pod15. Give it a shout or give it a try. Save you a few quid. Some cool stuff there. But yeah, keep on listening to the podcast. And we'll have more lockdown logs. And we'll leave it there, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. See you soon.